offensive coordinator. What do you think about it?
Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey again, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. Jimmy, how are you today?
Well, our national nightmare, or at least 50% of it, is over. We actually found someone willing to sit in the office of the Alabama offensive coordinator office space.
Yeah, Tommy Rees, Alabama, once again, steals something from Notre Dame. Notre Dame's got to hate Nick Saban by this point. I mean, they beat him in the national championship game in 2012, beat him in the playoffs in 2020, steals Keon Keeley, and now he gets Tommy Rees. And, it's being met with mixed reaction, I'd say. But, frankly, I kind of dig it. I mean, you got to – first of all, everybody's got to get younger right now. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, you're getting younger, and Tommy Rees seems like a guy who can recruit. I will defer to you on this. I know more about Tommy Rees, the player, than I know about him, the offensive coordinator. Yeah. That's how young he is. Yeah. So I'm really okay with it because Nick Saban is our elder statesman, and he also seems to be a little acerbic and combative, meaning Rees. And I'm okay with acerbic and combative. I mean, I frankly – Bill O'Brien struck me as a guy who was like, hey, let's run Liberty 62ZX and, let's hope it goes well. Y'all go out there and try really hard. And if it doesn't, he's like, oh, well, it worked in practice. I want a guy who says, do your job. Oh. And then you have to bleep 6 words.
Well, I mean, I like what you said there, and I agree that that's a good description of Tommy Rees. He is acerbic. He is tough on his quarterbacks. He will cut. Bill O'Brien will too, by the way. As a matter of fact, the funny thing is, in terms of reality, I think if you put Tommy Rees and Bill O'Brien in the same room, you got a good chance of you're watching a scene from Goodfellas. They can curse each other out with the best of them. Both of them can. But Tommy Rees is very tough on his quarterbacks. That's a fact. Some people may like that. Some may not. It's funny to me that Tommy Rees is young. Obviously he's very young, but he's old school in that way. He's tough on his guys. He is not a lot of, what does Nick call it? Positive gratification for the players. I mean, Tommy Rees is more likely to you do your job or you are running 1,000 stadium steps. I mean, with a bunch of R-rated words thrown in. I mean, he's just real tough on his quarterbacks. He's tough on the offense. But here's about it. Our offense needs to be tougher. And he's tough on his guys because he's trying to toughen up his quarterbacks and the whole offense. And that's something I think Alabama needs. Not necessarily a return to 2008. Not a return to 2009. Alabama needs to retain what it's been doing really well. Explosive plays from the outside, scoring a lot of points, being very versatile on offense. But Tommy Rees is a tough guy. He wants the offense to be tougher. I think all that run the ball, the Alabama fans, the run the damn ball crowd, they're going to be really happy about this, or they should be. Tommy, for a quarterback, he wants to run the ball, and he wants to be physical on offense. And I think that's a welcome addition. I think that's exactly what we need. I think that's what Nick Saban was looking for. It's just strange to me, Luke, and I know Tommy Rees, because I can talk about this forever. What's interesting to me, Luke, is his age. Look who we've hired. Bill O'Brien, a 50-year-old NFL head coach. Sorry.
Jesus, wait, but stop. Let me stop you. Bill O'Brien's only 50? I'm 50.
Bill O'Brien. I think me and Bill O'Brien are the same age. I think he's 52.
Okay, I've got a baby face. I'm kind of young. Bill O'Brien's only 50. That's the most breaking news anybody's given me so far today.
He has a stressful job. He has a stressful job.
Sorry, I'll tell you how old I am. I'm drinking coffee at 4:42 in the afternoon.
My I was going to say production assistant. She's more like the president here. Informs me that Bill O'Brien is 53. So
Holy goodness.
Yeah,
okay.
I knew he was right around my age. But no, my point is Bill O'Brien's an older NFL head coach. Sark, he had been a head coach in 2 places. Lane had been the head coach in the NFL and at Tennessee and at USC. We have hired experienced head coaches to be our offensive coordinator, several in a row, and now we've gone and hired. I mean, Tommy Rees is 30. I already looked it up this morning because I knew this was coming. Tommy Rees was 31. Tommy Rees turns 31 in May. He's that young. He was hired by Brian Kelly, who I have a ton of respect for. Brian Kelly made Tommy Rees a 27-year-old offensive coordinator at Notre Dame. That's remarkable. I mean, there's some Doogie Howser here. I mean, in terms of like how crazy young he is to have the responsibility he's had. And the best thing I can say in terms of pitching this to Alabama fans, in terms of, because most Alabama fans aren't going to be very familiar with Tommy Rees. But what I can pitch you on is this for Brian Kelly. Maybe there's Alabama fans who don't. Maybe there's Alabama fans who don't like Brian Kelly or whatever. I have a lot of respect for him. He's won a ton of college football games, beat Alabama this year. I think Brian Kelly's a smart, good coach. He gave Tommy Rees his first job. He gave Tommy Rees his first big job. He made Tommy Rees a 27-year-old offensive coordinator at Notre Dame. And then when Brian Kelly got the LSU job, he tried to bring Tommy Rees with him to Baton Rouge. So Brian Kelly is 1,000% aboard the Tommy Rees train. And I put a lot of weight on that myself. I think that's impressive because I have a lot of respect for Brian Kelly. If you don't, then you don't care about that. But if you think Brian Kelly's a smart guy and he knows what he's doing and he's a competent guy, then you probably like this hire, because I also have no doubt Nick Saban talks to Brian Kelly. I think there's a very good chance Nick Saban talked to Brian Kelly before he.
All right, if you don't like the hire, okay, and you don't like Brian Kelly, think about this for a second. Brian Kelly and LSU, with a lesser team, beat Alabama this year with a lesser team, and Bill O'Brien and Brian Kelly wanted Tommy Rees on his team. Yeah. So that tells me by some kind of weird transitive property that I can't really do the formula part, that Brian Kelly does like Tommy Rees, and I think he'd be better than Bill O'Brien. That's my take on it. Here's the other thing. That made no sense. In my head, when I was thinking about that, it somewhere between here and my mouth, it got lost in translation.
Brian Kelly beat Bill O'Brien without Tommy Rees, and he was trying to have Tommy.
That's true. That's okay. That's where I was trying to get. Anyway, I had another salient point about this. Number one, I do like the fact that he's only 31. I like that a lot, because I think now more than ever, it is becoming harder and harder for older generations to connect with younger generations. Do you understand? Like, yeah. Let's be very clear about this. Younger generations don't respect older generations anymore. And maybe rightfully so. Maybe. Because, when I was growing up, or when my parents were growing up, I respected the older generations. That, I was dealing with a lot of the greatest generation. Now you're not dealing with the greatest generation. Outside of Nick Saban, everybody else kind of sucks. So, it's good to have younger coordinators that can relate and Snapchat and Google and do all these things that these younger kids are doing that you and I can't do. We've been doing a podcast for 4 years now, and the closest thing you've come to a technological breakthrough is getting Bryant Denny behind you, but it makes you look like a ghost. So that's the most technological breakthrough you've had. So I want to have younger coordinators. And here's the other thing. The other good news from today, Tommy Rees was really good. But the other good news from today is we didn't hire Todd Grantham. I think that's not being celebrated enough. I was scared to death we were going to hire Todd Grantham. I was scared to death of it. I want it to be Jeremy Pruitt. I'm a throw the caution into the wind guy right now. Hugh Freeze is at Auburn. Bruce Pearl is at Auburn. What's his name's at Texas A&M? Well, Jimbo Fisher's at Texas A&M, and also the former Arkansas coach Bobby Petrino. He's at Texas A&M. Will Wade's, I think he's coaching somewhere doing something. So
I don't think so.
I don't know if it's a high school or what. Regardless, he's doing something. So my point is, why can't we hire Jeremy Pruitt? But that's beside the point. We didn't hire Todd Grantham. That should also be celebrated. Disagree?
It's not going to be Todd Grantham as defensive coordinator. But I know there's a lot of talk about that. And be honest, hey, let's be honest, because I don't think nobody's listening. There was a day or two I was 100% convinced it was going to be Todd Grantham as our defensive coordinator, and I can't say why, but I mean, there was 1 or 2 days when I'm like, oh wow, we're going to hire Todd Grantham. But that just goes to show how sources aren't always 100% correct, and things change.
Yeah. Jimmy, I want to stop and tell everybody about FanDuel really quickly. Then we're going to have one more quick segment. This is just an instant reaction video, so it's not going to be an entire podcast, but I do need to tell you about FanDuel. We're really excited about our new sports betting partner. That's Locked On with FanDuel, because they're the #1 sports book in America. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features that make betting on sports fun and easy. Download FanDuel now so you can bet on Super Bowl 57 with a no-sweat first bet. You'll get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. I'm telling you, that is a deal like no other. The FanDuel Sportsbook app is safe, secure, and super easy to use. Best of all, you can get paid your winnings instantly, not screwing around like waiting a few days. Instantly. That's unbelievable. So join FanDuel today at FanDuel.com/lockedon to claim your no-sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. So, a couple other things I want to talk about. First of all, LeBaron Philon did commit to Auburn as we predicted. I mean, it wasn't super hard to predict that. I mean, everybody could see that coming. But and I wanted him. I'm not going to pretend I didn't want LeBaron Philon on this team. I wanted him in this class for 2024. I did want him. I want that to be clear. But I do have reason to believe he wasn't as big a priority as some other guys on our board, which is also fair to say that he was a priority, maybe just not as high as some of the others. I personally wanted him. I've seen him play. I think he's a lot of fun to watch. Maybe there's some reasons we weren't as high, maybe. But I do believe that, and I think Auburn got a good one. I think he's a really, really good player. And as a guy who works and calls some games for the AHSA, it's unfortunate to me. But the good news is Nate Oates is locked down for quite some time now and got a huge contract extension with huge buyouts. Nate Oates apparently wants to be here at the University of Alabama, which is awesome. We got to love on this guy some more. Look, Nick Saban's not the kind of guy that needs our love. Nick Saban's the kind of guy that needs our attention, in the sense that he wants people to listen when he talks. That's really all he wants. I mean, he probably wants some admiration and some pats on the back or whatever, but for the most part, that's what it seems. I think Nate Oates is kind of out there. When I hear him talk, in his voice, it's certainly tacit, but it is sort of, hey, I need y'all to show up more. I need y'all to be there more. And as somebody on Twitter, I'm trying to remember, I want to give him credit. I can't remember who it was, but he had a great post, and it was the video of Brandon Miller with that tomahawk dunk the other night against Vandy. He said, man, that even got the people in the white seats to stand up, meaning the white seats that are on the front row that I always talk about. They usually sit there, no matter the situation, with their legs crossed, and they give a golf clap, no matter if it's a half-court shot to win it or if it's a block shot to win it. Whatever it is, it just seems like they don't stand up enough, and that made them stand up. And I think that's what Nate Oates is saying. But regardless, we locked Nate Oates down, and I think that's wonderful. Please tell me you agree.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, Nate is, I think, one of the best up and coming coaches in college basketball. I think he's the fourth highest paid coach in the SEC, fourth or fifth. The guys ahead of him that are making more money have all been to Final Fours, every one of them. And it's fair that Nate shouldn't be paid Final Four money until he's made it to the Final Four, right? I mean, Bruce Pearl, he's been there. Calipari, he's there. It's understandable that Nate would be fourth based on accomplishment and based on the fact that he's up and coming. He loves it here. He's made that completely clear numerous times. Building the arena is something that's important and it's a priority. The construction costs are up to $250 million. Nate is understandable. He understands that we want to build the arena. The arena is coming, but we have other things to take care of first, including locking up Nate, including properly funding the new NIL plan. Because I don't care if you have a new – hey, if all it takes is a new arena, then Ole Miss would be where Alabama is. But they're not. They're not. You know, they have a new arena. How's that working out for them? No, what you need is a great coach and a properly funded NIL entity that's helping the situation. And Alabama's got those things. The arena is going to come, but at an opportune time. So, hey, I couldn't be happier with the direction of basketball and with Nate Oates. What a great – here's who doesn't get enough credit, Greg Byrne, for finding and hiring and keeping Nate Oates. Greg Byrne is who should get more credit than he does.
And we will wrap it up. I just want to say one thing that it really has nothing to do with anything, but I was at the Lifetime at Vestavia today, and they were playing basketball this afternoon, so I played with them. I don't like to a lot of times because I'm the old man in the club. But today, Jason Reese, former Alabama legend Jason Reese, was on my team. And so I played with him. And, well, I was on the court at the same time he was. He did a lot of playing. I did a lot of – God, Jason, that was a great play by you. But I like Jason Reese because I still remember when he had that monster dunk on Auburn and, he sort of – can we say teabagged? I don't know that we can't, but he sort of
Yep, you can't. Now it's too late.
It's too late now. I don't know if I need to bleep it, but he sort of swung on the rim. It was an unbelievable dunk, and it was just a lot of fun. So it's always cool to see. And he seems to really be liking, obviously, the direction of this Alabama squad, and so it's just cool. I'm not trying to name drop or anything. I just like remembering good, positive Alabama stuff, and that dunk he had on Auburn was an unbelievable moment. And so just pretty cool. Anyway, that's going to do it for this instant reaction video. Man, there were like 80 people watching live. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. And please subscribe to the channel. Please go check out FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel.com/lockedon. And Jimmy and I will be back Sunday. We'll be talking a lot of other stuff. Probably be talking some Alabama LSU. And we'll be talking what's coming up for Alabama basketball. And
names with Grantham moving on. Hopefully we'll have some names as far as defensive coordinator goes on Sunday. I would just urge this. I'm not going to give any names, but I think people ought to focus on who has worked for Nick Saban in the past and who has extensive experience running Nick Saban's defense. Sort of focus on those names to kind of give you an idea of where this could be headed.
All right. I mean, I'm sweating like I just told a lie in court. I don't know what's wrong with me. But anyway.
Sweating like Nixon.
All right, buddy. We will talk soon. You're headed to the Iron Bowl of Gymnastics. Good luck to the Crimson Tide tonight. And until next time, roll Tide, everybody.